Hello, everybody. Welcome to lunchtime with Optimum Ed. Hopefully, you've got sun shining out of your window because here in the Richmond area, it's beautiful outside. I'm Candace Suarez with Optimum Ed.
Hi, Tom Leahy. What are we having for lunch, Candace?
I haven't thought that far in advance yet.
I
But
guess we
thanks for
can't eat and talk at the same time. So
No, probably not. So we're Optimum Ed. I'm the director of student counseling here, and what we do is we help high school students find a path forward after graduation. We help them with the entire college enrollment process after we do a very thorough discussion of direction. We do that whole process for them. We dig in and help them discover what they want to do, what they should be doing, and whether that makes a lot of sense for them or not.
yeah.
And today, Tom is going to share with us some changes to financial aid. These changes are going to take effect for those filing in October of 2022, which would first affect those students heading off to college in the fall of 2023. Is that right, Tom?
That's correct. And I just want to make a couple of comments before we get into the changes. I think it's so important that parents and students keep in mind that if paying for college is a concern, that needs to be part of the planning process, along with trying to figure out what school to go to, what major, all of that. We don't want to wait until we get into a school in spring of our senior year and then raise our hand and say, gosh, how am I going to pay for this? Right.
Exactly.
So I just like the Easter Bunny of Santa Claus. There is no scholarship fairy. I'm sorry. So it takes planning. It takes work ahead of time. So please keep that in mind. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see students and parents making is they wait to get into school before they try to figure out how to pay for it. We need to talk about that ahead of time. Okay.
Yeah.
On that. All right. All right. Financial aid. Okay, just a real quick primer before we hit the highlights of the changes. So, financial aid, there's merit, there's need. Merit is like it sounds, it's based on the qualities of the student. We're talking about need-based eligibility now, need-based aid, which is based on income and assets of the parent and the student. Okay, and there's two ways that colleges figure that out. Every school uses the free application for student aid, the FAFSA. That's what everybody's heard about. Some of the private schools and even some of the more elite public schools, like here in Virginia, William and Mary, UVA, use another formula and process through the College Board called the CSS profile. Just be aware of that, okay? So, but every school uses the free application for student aid because that's what drives the distribution of federal funding, okay? And whether or not you're going to get need-based assistance, right? So, as Candace said, when we file our forms October of 2022 to get aid for fall of 23, are going to go into effect. Okay. Some of the more, they're calling it simplification, but, it's going to be shorter, but some of the changes are going to be impactful based upon how things work now and how they're going to change. So one of the first things is just a name change. Previously, this magic number that drove need-based eligibility, that the formula produced called the expected family contribution. And that's basically what the family can afford for 1 year's cost of education. That's what they're determining through this formula, is now going to be called the Student Aid Index. Instead of EFC, it's going to be SAI.
Student Aid Index.
Okay. Yeah. No big deal. Just a name change. They think that's going to be more embraced, I guess, by families filing for assistance. All right. So, there's this income protection allowance, which protects a portion of the parent's income. Currently, it is reduced by a certain amount, certain number of dollars for each child that you have. You don't see that. That's just built into the formula itself. It reduces the income, the allowance. It reduces the allowance that the parent receives. So that's going to go away. All right. However, what it's going to be replaced by is that there's not going to be any benefit for having more than two students in school at the same time, in college at the same time. Right now, if you have two students in college at the same time, that magic number EFC is basically divided in half, right? Because the formula says, okay, this family can afford this much here, so at a high level, you got two kids, so that's going to be cut in half, right? Family's not going to have to spend any more because that's going to stay the same. You have two kids, it's divided in half. That's going away.
Yes. So Tom, you're saying that if, the people that are listening, if you have kids that are, 2 or 3 years apart and that they're going to be in college at the same time, that's not taken into account anymore?
Yes, they used to be, it used to be a benefit, but not anymore.
Okay.
We're going to have to think about that in terms of timing.
Right.
So that's one of the big changes. Now, if you're a single person, a single child family, then that will have no impact.
Right.
All right.
Or if you have kids that are more than 4 years spaced apart.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So what else is changing? Certain types of untaxed income that used to be reported will not be reported anymore. One of the big things that is indirect support, like grandparents give money to their grandchild to help pay for college, was reportable previously. Now it's not going to be. Money coming from a grandparent owned 529 plan used to be reported. Now it's not. So it really basically it depends on the financial circumstance of the family. I mean, it always has really depended on the financial circumstance of the family, how these changes are going to impact. But I think you just need to be aware, if you're in a situation where especially I think more importantly, is how it's going to impact, divorce or separated parents. So, previously, or right now, I guess, before the changes, if there's a divorce or separation, the numbers that are reported in terms of the parent is based on domicile, who the child lives with 12 months prior to the filing of the financial aid form, basically. Okay. So it's going to change then when these changes take place. It's going to be based on the parent that provides the most financial support to the student for the previous 12 months. And if
how is that going to be determined?
Well, it's based on income tax, but it's but if it's 50-50 on, there's a legal document that says that they both are responsible for 50-50. Then it's going to be based on, as I said, on taxes, on who has the highest adjusted gross income.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So, put that in your planning hat and think about the implications of who, it changes the complexion of this process, I think, fairly significantly for divorced and separated families. So
right.
That's a biggie. let's see, anything else? Well, you know, another change, which is I think good, is because we get this question all the time. There's children or students who parents say, "Okay, I'm not gonna, I'm not paying for college. You're on your own." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and right now, if the parents aren't willing to you know give up their financial information to file the FAFSA for that student, the student it can't even be eligible to receive the Stafford loan, right?
Okay.
Without that, without the parents'
The family
input,
income. Yeah.
right? Because that through that filing process of the FAFSA, the school certifies that the student is in school half time, which is one of the requirements to receive federal assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So with the changes, the student can get eligibility to receive those loans without parent information. I think that's good.
That really opens up a lot of opportunities for kids that just might not have
Right.
that family support. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
nice.
And
Yeah.
then another small change is they're upping the amount in terms of not having to report assets. If you have there's income thresholds where if you're below a certain income level, you don't have to report assets. So that's
Okay.
being improved. So
Good.
or increased. So that may be helpful in some cases. But there's a lot of other little things like there's no going to be allowances for state and other taxes in the formula any longer, and that sort of thing. So it really, well, I mean, there no, well, I guess a couple other little things that right now, if you're a male, you have to mark the form that you filed, that you've registered with Selective Service. That's
Right.
going away.
Okay.
The requirement to affirm that you've not had uh, uh, any convictions for the sale or possession of controlled substances. That's going away.
Okay.
So I think that's all part of this. I think opening up
Yeah.
of the country in terms of being less strict in terms of the results of being involved in some sort of drug situation. Anyway, so that's going. So there's a whole lot of little things like that are going to
Mm-hmm.
change. But I think we've touched on basically the overall changes that take place. Now, what is the message coming out of this? The message is it's a fairly complex process, and again, it depends on the family's financial circumstance. So, I would really encourage families who find this concerning, are wanting to get more information or wanting to figure it out and really see what that looks like, come in and talk to us.
Yeah.
We can help frame
And
that.
you actually sit with them and help them fill out those FAFSA, the
Well,
forms,
yeah, we
correct?
will help fill out
Yeah.
the forms, but more importantly, up front, we can do an estimate of
Yeah.
financial aid eligibility, and then it goes back to my original comment about planning for the
Mm-hmm.
paying part ahead of time, right? Let's
Right.
figure out what that looks like. Are we going to be eligible or not? What is that number that we're going to be held to pay? And so we can compare it to the schools we're looking at in terms of cost. And so we know if
Mm-hmm.
there's need or not. We can do all of that for the family ahead of time. So we really helps make better decisions, right? That's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the more information, the better. The better prepared you are, more better planning you can put in the beginning, the less stress and anxiety you'll have at the end. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, too, we're there every year. If the family engages us, we're there during college.
Yeah.
Every year, you have to refile and requalify. So we're there to help with that process as well. So we could be around for quite a while.
Yep.
We'll be invited to Sunday dinner. By the time. All right. Well,
All right.
that's what I had to share. I hope that was helpful. And so we will let you get back to your day, and we will see you next week at noon on Thursday. And so, yeah, have a great weekend.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.